This is the video review of the Deluxe Flying Baymax figure from Big Hero 6. Before we begin, I want to apologize for my lighting. Normally, I would try to light him evenly so that none of the details get lost in shadows, and so that, just in general, you have a good idea of what the figure looks like. But my camera does not like to pick up reds, so when I light him evenly, he's just a big blob on the screen. You can't really tell what anything is. And it's already kind of like that, but because I have this one light turned off, it's not nearly as bad, because there's some lighter shades and some darker shades, so there's some contrast. And that helps a little bit, because like, you can see some of the depth of him right here, but if I were lighting him evenly, it would just be a big block of red. So anyway, with that out of the way, this figure is really cool. I really love the way it looks. The broad shoulders, the barreled chest, he just has great heroic proportions. And one thing I really like about it is just how he has all of these armor panels on him. And these armor panels are actually really nice because they'll move out of the way. I would prefer if they were spring-loaded so that they wouldn't just stay up like that. But even still, they give him a really big look no matter how he's moving. And it's like here's a normal stance. If you move it out, he looks even bigger, even though on, say, a Transformer, the shoulder normally would just be rotated inward towards the body. But here, it gets pushed out. And that gives him just a really big appearance, and he looks kind of larger than life. You get similar panels down here, but they're not quite as useful, and that has to do with disposability, which I'll get into a little bit. But before I get into that, I actually want to get into the electronics and some of his gimmicks. So this guy has lights and sounds to him, and this actually, one of my gripes about this guy is that he doesn't quite have enough paint, and like, I complained about my camera not picking him up properly. In person, he's still kind of bland color-wise because he's red, purple, a little bit of black, and then clear up here. I wish that at the very least this had been a more opaque color, because in the show I think this is actually supposed to be white. Like actually I have a smaller version of Baymax right here and it's white. But on this, because he has lights and sounds, he has lights that come up through his face, which is great. But it means that when you don't have him turned on, his face doesn't look quite like it should. But anyway, let me show you the first round of electronics. The way you turn them on is there is a button back here, and you'll a switch back here. And then the way you activate the sounds is you press right here. I don't have an exact count on all of his sounds, but they all basically kind of sound like that. And those are the first round of sounds. He has actually a couple more sounds, and those sounds actually come from interacting with this guy right here, this little Hero figure, which I'm actually not very pleased with this Hero figure because it looks kind of gummy in the face and stuff. But also just his pose, he looks kind of like a creeper, like a "hey baby." But anyway, the reason why he's shaped like this is because he's supposed to ride on Baymax's back. And to do this, well, first you want to press the button here to expand his wings. It actually has a pretty good wingspan. Let's see if I can get a better shot of that. And the way that he sits is there are two pegs right here, and they will go into his knees, which actually sounds quite painful. But anyway, you put them in like this, and like this. And then what happens is that there are magnets on his gloves, and when you put the magnets in like this, hold on. When both magnets are attached like that, and that completes the circuit, and basically what happens is it's supposed to be like a Hero is flying Baymax. So if you have Baymax tilted up like this, it's like he's flying up, and it makes this sound. If you tilt him down, it makes a different sound. And that's actually kind of cool, but I'm not really a fan of the sound, just the concept, because it is kind of an annoying sound. And one thing that sucks about this guy is that he doesn't really want to stay on very well, because the magnets here, they don't actually hold him in. They're just to complete the circuit. So the only thing keeping him in are these holes in his knees on these pegs, which works kind of fine, but it's not really a solid connection, so he will come off sometimes. But anyway, after you have this guy in, he does get an extra set of sounds when he's standing up straight, so...
Flying makes me a better healthcare companion. Baymax! Rocket Fist! Fly! Yes! Fly! Baymax! Rocket Fist! Yes! Flying makes me a better healthcare companion.
There may be more audio clips. I don't really know. It just seems to repeat from there. But anyway, one thing that Hiro said in the audio clip was Baymax Rocket Fist, and he actually has that. You press this button right here, and it doesn't shoot very far, but this is also a very massive projectile. So if you were to hit someone in the face with this, it would actually hurt quite a bit. So maybe it's good that it doesn't shoot too far. It just pops right in here, and then you press a button to fire it. Now let's see. That's about it for gimmicks. It does have one last thing here, where if you press this in, it will then come out. I haven't seen the movie yet, so I don't really know what it is. I would guess it's maybe a battery or something. But there don't seem to be any electronics associated with it. It just comes in and comes out. And let's see now for posability. I wish this guy had a lot more posability, because if he could pose well, this guy would just be great for everyone, for kids and collectors. And even though I do think this guy is cool, because of the posability problems he does have, I kind of think this is more of a kid's toy than a collector's toy, because a collector was going to want to pose him, have him stand in cool poses. A kid's going to be fine with just going, whoosh, I'm Baymax and I'm awesome! But anyway, the posability is the arms go in and out like this. And pretty unhindered until they reach the wings here, and then this will bump into the wings. And then the arm can rotate around 360 if you move them out of the way of the wings. And then that's fine. That's actually great posability. But on the arms is where it starts to get a little bit limited. So right here, you can rotate them in and out, but only just a little bit. And I don't know why there's a block, because it's not like the electronics have anything to do with the fists or anything. So it's not like there are any wires that need to be kept from being twisted too far. And then the elbows, let me turn them off. The elbows are kind of similar in that they only move about this much, which is a bit of a shame, because if he had more elbows, that actually would have been really, you could have done a bit more with him. And I kind of get why they did it that way, just because if they had made it so it could bend more, that would have interrupted the sculpting. It's a bit of a shame. I wish he could bend his arms more, but it's not as big of a deal as this is, I think. And down to the legs is where it gets actually kind of bad, because the legs have this really weird joint where you rotate them in and out. You rotate them on basically a 45-degree cut like this, which is weird because it doesn't let you go forward or back, and it's also blocked, so you can only go from here to here. It's also a really strong joint too. It's not very comfortable to move it with this thing in a way, which can come off, and with the other joints here. But then you also get a thigh swivel here, which is quite nice. It's one of the few joints that can go all the way around, except that this will bump into stuff. And then you get 2 clicks at the knee. And I'm actually okay with the knee. I just wish that you could move the legs forward and back in a more natural way. You also get ball joint in the foot, and basically without this he couldn't stand at all. And I still wish that they did a better job with this, because while he can stand with his foot, he doesn't have a flat instep, so it's very hard to get him flat-footed, because as much range as a ball joint has, it is still somewhat limited. So sometimes there are just going to be some poses where you're never going to get the foot flat, so he's just going to fall over. So that's a bit of a shame that his legs ultimately aren't that great. And the only other bit of articulation he has is actually really nice. It's his head. It can rotate side to side about this much. And since there is actually a light inside of the head, it doesn't make sense why he can only turn his head that much. But he also has another joint, which is really nice, which is his head can tilt up like this for an awesome flying pose. And this is actually one of my favorite bits of posability on him, because it is something that I didn't really expect, considering how limited the legs were. But overall, his posability is not quite what I think collectors would want from a figure like this, considering that he doesn't do too much else that collectors like. Because this is more of a toy than a collector toy, if that makes sense. And for me personally, I think he looks great, except for he could use a bit more color on him. But he doesn't do enough to really justify a position in my collection, especially with his balance issues, because he really doesn't balance that well on these little itty-bitty feet. But for kids, I do think this would be a great Christmas present for kids. Like if you gave this to a kid for Christmas, unless the kid just hated Big Hero 6, which I haven't seen yet, so I don't know if that's likely or not. And I think any kid would be like, oh man, this thing is awesome, thank you Mom, and thank you Dad. So For kids, I think this is great. For collectors, probably not. So anyway, this has been a video review of Deluxe Flying Baymax. I hope you've enjoyed it. I review other things like Transformers, Power Rangers, Digimon, Tobots. If any of that sounds interesting, please subscribe, and thank you for watching.